Will the United States send ground troops into Iran? Now, on the surface, this sounds like an easy question. Most people would say, no. Why would America invade Iran? They saw what happened in Iraq. They saw what happened in Afghanistan. 20 years of war, trillions of dollars, thousands of lives lost. And what did they get? Nothing. They pulled out and everything collapsed. So surely, the United States would not be stupid enough to do it again, right? Well, here is the problem. Wars do not work on common sense. Wars work on escalation. And escalation has its own logic, a logic that pulls you in whether you want to go or not. Let me explain this with a concept called mission creep. Mission creep is when a military operation starts small and controlled, but then slowly, gradually expands beyond its original scope. It is not one big decision. It is a series of small decisions, each one making perfect sense in the moment, but collectively pulling you deeper and deeper into a conflict you never intended to fight. This is exactly how the United States ended up in Vietnam. It started with a few hundred military advisors, just advisors, right? We are not fighting, we are just helping. Then the advisors needed protection, so they sent in a few thousand troops just for security. Then there was an incident, an attack, American soldiers died, so they sent in more troops to respond, to protect, to retaliate, and before anyone realized what was happening, there were over 500,000 American soldiers fighting in the jungles of Vietnam in a war that lasted nearly 2 decades. That is mission creep. And the terrifying thing about mission creep is that nobody plans for it. Nobody sits in a room and says, we are going to send 500,000 troops. It happens one step at a time. Each step feels reasonable. Each step feels necessary. But the staircase only goes down. Now apply this to Iran. Right now, it is an air war. Remote, controlled, safe, at least for American soldiers. But what happens when an airstrike misses? What happens when Iran retaliates and hits a U.S. base? What happens when American soldiers die and the public demands a response? What happens when the air war is not enough to achieve the strategic objective? You send in a small team, a special operations unit, just a quick mission, in and out. But then it does not go well. So you send in 2,000 troops to support them, then 5,000, then 10,000. And suddenly you are in a ground war in Iran, a country of 88 million people, with mountainous terrain that makes Afghanistan look like a parking lot. And once you are in, you are trapped. A ground war in Iran would not be Iraq. It would not be Afghanistan. It would be both of them combined and multiplied. Military analysts estimate it could take 5 to 10 years. It would require a scale of military mobilization that the United States has not seen since World War II. And here is the part that should terrify every American family. In order to sustain a ground war of that scale, the United States would almost certainly have to reinstate the national draft. The draft. Young men, 18 years old, forced to join the military and shipped overseas to fight in a country most of them cannot find on a map. So here is the game theory prediction. And I know this is going to be uncomfortable. According to the game theory model, yes, the United States will eventually send in ground troops. Not because they want to, not because they plan to, but because the logic of escalation demands it. Once you start climbing the escalation ladder, each step creates pressure to take the next step. And when your credibility is on the line, when your allies are watching, when the political cost of backing down exceeds the political cost of going forward, you go forward. That is how escalation works. It is not about strategy, it is about momentum. And right now, the momentum is pointing in one direction, down that staircase.